Alright, y'all, I'm back again with another video. And y'all not gonna like this one. But, so here's the thing. Let's be realistic right now. The likelihood of Lonzo Ball getting traded is extremely high. Um, let's just put it out on Front Street. Regardless of what we want to say, a lot of people do not like his 5 game, 6 game stretch in the bubble or 7 game stretch in the bubble. Granted, that last game he played, he did really good. Like he was scoring, he was getting buckets all over the court and everything. But let's be honest. The verdict on Lonzo right now is doesn't know how to play half court offense. He's not a good shooter, period. And this is just what people think and believe. Whether it's true or not, we can get into that, later on another video. But, the free throws, finishing at the rim, yada, yada, yada. I got that. I hope you guys understand that, right? So when we look at the New Orleans Pelicans, um, you gotta look at it like this. They're going to be thinking, does what Lonzo bring to the table for Zion and BI worth it? Obviously, he's going to want a max, right? So, to them, I would imagine they're thinking, okay, look, we don't mind paying Lonzo if he's like producing. So that goes back to the thing Lonzo would have to produce. But has he done that so far? No. And so for them, they're like, okay, if we don't trade him now, then that means we have to see what he does in the first couple months of the season before the trade deadline, and hopefully his stock isn't low, so that they can get something worth it. Right now, people probably think some teams are going to be extremely high on Lonzo. So for them, they may be thinking, okay, if we might need to move off of him. And that could be reflected in some of the coaches like Stan Van Gundy, who said, I believe it was during one of the games, I think it was in the bubble, when he was saying Lonzo is a very good like transition passer, point guard, but he's not a good half court point guard. Um, and so if they hire Stan Van Gundy, which they said, or I saw somewhere where it said they're supposed to announce the new coaching hire like within like this evening or by tomorrow. So I guess we'll know who's the coach, and that'll tell us a lot. But if Stan Van Gundy's going to be the coach, this goes back to my other video, or the video I also did a collab with DJ's Raw and Cut True. Is he like who? What is the coach going to value in Lonzo along with the front office eventually? You know, are they going to? Are they still trying to push for win now? Which to me, what does win now mean? Does that mean we get into the playoffs? Does that mean we're trying to win a ring? Because like you gotta, to me, you have to define what that means. But let's just say they want to get it to the playoffs. They may look at Lonzo on this team and say, what's real Lonzo? The first 2 to 3 months before December and the bubble, or from right before Christmas until March. That's going to be the question. How does he, it's which is the Lonzo we're getting. Now, if they look at his record and stuff, they may say, okay, well, look, he has been hurt, so let's see what he does during the offseason and see if that enhances his game. Great. But let's say we get someone like Stan Van Gundy who doesn't think Lonzo is that. Is he going to look to move Lonzo? Something you have to consider. Maybe he's like, I don't think, for all what Lonzo brings, he might be like, I don't agree with him not being a half court point guard. So what's the next option? He may look to move Lonzo. He may look to keep Drew and run Drew at point guard, even if that's not what Drew wants to do. It's completely feasible. Also mentioned Bi having a shooting guard skill set. Now, granted, people may be reading too much into that, but if David Griffin is going to say that, he might be employing one of the coaches. Hey, play him at the 2. So maybe they say, oh, okay, we just slide Drew over to point guard and get rid of Lonzo. You know, you guys got to keep this stuff in mind. You know, there, and this goes back to what I was saying. Their viewpoint, how they view the team itself, is going to be reflected in the coaching hire. So, and the draft too. So, we're going to find out a whole lot here within the next 24 hours or so. But back to the point. So, if they don't view Lonzo as you know, blah 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 whoop de woo, what it is, or the coach does it, fine. You know, we're gonna have to move on or accept Lonzo's gonna get traded. Fair enough point. Now, here's the funky thing. There was a huge trade rumor about Drew to the Nets, and I just saw one a little while ago talking about there was some discussions between the Nets and the Pels about Drew Holiday and I think Spencer Dinwiddie. Okay? If you go look up Spencer Dinwiddie, his listed position is actually point guard, right? So think about this for a minute. And he's not really a shooter. So if you got Spencer Dinwiddie, let's just say you take Spencer Dinwiddie and we're not going to worry about the other. Okay, so now you got Spencer and Lonzo, right? If let's just assume Stan Van Gundy becomes head coach, right? So he's more than likely going to favor Spencer over Lonzo because he doesn't think Lonzo can effectively run a pick and roll or half court offense. So that also, and they have no, and they know Lonzo is going to want max money, which is going to affect some things going forward. Because if you're paying him 20 something million, then you're paying Bi 20, 30 something million, and then by the time Zion comes up, Zion's going to have to get his, his money. So it's like, okay. So they may look to move Lonzo to get rid of the problem that could be cap space, but if depending on the coach, could say, I don't want him. He's not gonna be able to run my offense. So there's gonna be a lot of makeover for this team. And don't assume just because there's been talks that Drew will get traded, that Lonzo won't get traded. Because they may get rid of both their asses, to be honest. Or they may look to get rid of one. Or it's possible they may look to keep them. Who knows? They probably might keep both and see what they could do at the trade deadline, depending. That. But like I said, all this stuff depends on what their thing is. If they're really going to try to push for playoffs, I'm going to put it like this and just be blunt. The leash for Lonzo is going to be real tight. It's going to be real tight. Because if their thing is, okay, Lonzo's holding back the team, let's just assume Lonzo, for whatever reason, isn't attacking. Now, let me go ahead and put this out here. This is my viewpoint. I think Lonzo does not attack because he's not comfortable attacking. What do I mean by that? When Lonzo was in high school and college, the defense and the players there were they're not that good. So for him, he could just do whatever he wanted to get to the rack easily, right? In the league, players are much better. If you go back to I can't remember what season it was, but Ball and Family, he was talking to LaMelo about the league. He was like, everybody in the league is good. Like everybody in the league is good. So you can't just attack freely and freestyle and improvise like that, like he did. And with him being hurt, he never got that off season to actually work on that part of his game. So for instance, De'Aaron Fox wasn't a good shooter coming out of college, but he's worked himself into a really good shooter now. But even though he's had some injuries, he was always able to work out in the offseason. Lonzo hasn't had that, so he still had his UCLA skill set. So when Lonzo this season got into the half-court offense, he would do the pick and roll, and he would, get the pick. But then it was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? I don't really have the handle to, break somebody down. I don't necessarily have the footwork to, get the shot that I need to get. Really what his whole mindset might have been was, okay, I really don't feel comfortable attacking with my left hand or my right hand or absorbing the contact. I don't okay, I beat my guy, but what am I supposed to do now? I don't really have that. So for him, his mindset could have been, okay, I need to conserve health so I can get paid. or at least making it to the offseason healthy so I can work on my game and so at the very next season I can get paid, right? So for Lonzo, Lonzo's thinking long term, okay? He's not thinking, okay, whatever, I gotta, let me just go ahead and do and just try to bust their ass. For him, it's like, look, I know where I lack as a player. Because Lonzo's a smart kid. He's a smart man. He knows. I know where I lack as a player. I know where I'm not efficient. I know where I need to step my game up, but I just simply don't have the tools due to not having the same time as some of my peers. So for him, his mindset is like, okay, if I can just make it through the regular season, prove my durability, and I can get into the off season, I can grind this stuff out. I can come back the next season, then on the pick and roll, mid range, or crossover, hezzy, step back, jumper. That's why let's look at it this way too. When they was talking about post bubble, what did Lonzo say he wanted to work on? He said he knew he had to get the free throws, but he also said, and by the way, his free throws increased just simply because he changed his form. That's really what that was, because he really didn't have time to work on that stuff. So he got an increase just by changing his form, right? But bear with me now. So I got to work on free throws. I got to work on mid range, which y'all were talking about mid-range jump shots and stuff. He mentioned it. I'm just saying, I've been telling y'all about the mid-range. He personally mentioned it, but moving forward and attacking the rim. Now, what are the things that he couldn't do this season? Mid-range, attack the rim, and free throws. So Lonzo knew within himself he wasn't comfortable doing that stuff, so he didn't do it. That shouldn't be like, okay, Lonzo is necessarily passive. Because if we go back and look, Lonzo was aggressive college and high school. Now, if you want to say, why wasn't he aggressive now? Well, it's like, okay, if you are a college graduate in some kind of science, right? And all of a sudden you get put on this board of elite scholars and scientists and stuff. You just fresh out of college, you're going to feel like, what the fuck am I doing here? In a sense, like I don't belong with these guys. I'm not on their level. So it's going to have a retroactive effect on you and how you think and carry yourself. Now, with time and experience, you will be like, okay, I belong here. You'll develop, blah, 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 right? But with Lonzo, in this case, it's like, okay, I ain't had the time. I know I was good in college, but I got past this guy to pick a roll, but I really can't do anything. I just kind of need to use the best thing that I know how to use is my passing. I got to lean on my passing. Well, they're jumping in on the passes, but he's still such a brilliant passer that he can get by on it. So when it comes to Lonzo, I think a lot of what we saw this season is a direct result of him being hurt and not having those off seasons and being so smart he knows within himself what his lackings or his failings as a basketball player are, which is why he openly admitted to it. Now, if I'm a front office and I'm evaluating Lonzo, let's just take bias out of it. Here's what I know about Lonzo for sure. Three-pointer increased, natural synergy with the number one draft pick, can play along pretty much any lineup in the game, plays solid defense, and he's a stopgap. He does a little bit of everything. But he isn't attacking and he's not aggressive enough. Do I feel that is something that could change? Now, if you go back to the Lakers days, Magic Johnson gave those guys, it's like, these are your offseason assignments. This is what you got to work on. It's possible that some of this stuff was given to the guys, or in particular Lonzo, he's working on it. So we'll see. But like I said, Lonzo's a smart kid, so he probably knows. But if I'm evaluating Lonzo, I'm just trying to think right now, what is the point guard market out right now? For the league. Like, what does that look like? Rajon Rondo's probably going to be available. Knows how to play the point guard position. Maybe you can get George Hill, Spencer Dinwiddie, obviously. Maybe Chris Paul if he declines and wants to come back to New Orleans. Highly unlikely. There's some guys out there that's available. You may say, as much as I like the Lonzo Zion full court pairing, maybe I can get more value if I have a half court point guard or someone who a vet that has more experience playing the half court, right? A little bit more aggressive. Now, don't be surprised if we start hearing after this hiring, especially if it's Steph Van Gundy. Lonzo's name is popping up in trade rumors. Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. Don't be surprised if they pull the trigger. Again, we've also heard this guy's name mentioned with New York may look to try to get trade the number 8 pick to get Lonzo Ball, which I think Lonzo would be the guy on the Knicks. It'd be between him and then them grooming RJ before RJ got ready. But I think if RJ's healthy this offseason, RJ Barrett, whatever the guy's name is. But I think he would be a fit on the Knicks. And he would get the max money. He would get to run the offense. They would put the ball in his hands, and he'd have some synergy with Julius Randle from his days on the Lakers, and some of the other guys. He'd automatically be the best point guard. So he's gonna start. He's gonna get the bulk of the minutes, right? So that there could be a reasonable, logical let's trade Lonzo to New York. Now, hear me out. Let me this. All right. So I don't get any interruptions. So, think about this though. Lonzo's been spending all offseason busting his ass to work on his game, right? So, let's just assume he's only getting 10 shots a game so far his career. In the event that they do decide to trade him, and he's going to get to take the bulk of the shots, or a lot of the shots, or a lot more shots wherever he goes, that's going to bode well for his career, for his confidence. It wouldn't surprise me if Lonzo jumped up to being from like 11, 12 points a game to like 20, 12, and like 6 if he ended up on a team like the Knicks and he had to run the show. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about it like this. On one hand, we all want him to stay on the Pelicans and grow with Zion and BI and yada, yada, yada. The front office, on the other hand, has to think about it from this perspective. And this goes back to my video. What are we doing? Are we going to go develop these guys, or are we going for broke? Now, it's completely possible, like I said, I don't know much about these coaches other than Stan Van Gundy, I'm going to tell you right now. But it may be that these guys are experienced. I know Stan is. Stan has been in the league for a hot minute. So Stan, if they hire Stan, we already know Lonzo probably about to get up out of there. Deuces. More than likely. But if that's the case, they're trying to shoot for the playoffs, and all their plays and their stuff, everything they're going to do is get these guys in the playoffs next year. And I'm going to tell you right now, the only person on a leash like that is Zion, the way he can afford to fuck up. B.I. is a proven all-star. He's solid. They're going to max him. He's safe. He's already did what he needed to do. It took him 4 years to do so, but it was worth it. It took him 4 years to develop. This is going to be Lonzo's 4th year and B.I.'s 5th. But are they going to put Lonzo on that leash? Nah. Do I think they love Lonzo like that? I think they fuck with him. I think they think he's a hell of a guy. They think he's a good locker room guy, and I think they think he's a good player with great player, maybe possible superstar potential. But I think they are. I'm just telling. Let's hear me out. I really think the Pels are going to view Lonzo as he's not going to be on the timeline with us, and it's fair for them to feel that way. Now, are they going to miss him? If they trade him and he goes off someplace and gets like 20 and 10 and 6 or something like that and gets that max contract, possibly. But you got to think about it like this too. If you got if you got Zion getting paid in 3 more years, right? They're gonna have to max him. Period. You got Bi on a max contract, maybe super max. So what is that? 5 years, whatever. So that's gonna be a lot of money getting paid. If they were to keep Lonzo and Lonzo had an amazing season, they had to pay him max. They're going like their timeline speeds up too because it's like okay, they're good with Bi, but now you got Lonzo who's getting paid, and now you got to pay Zion in 3 more years basically, and then that's going to be a lot of money in those three. So you're gonna, and depending on what the cap space and everything looks like going forward because of COVID, you may not have enough to keep certain pieces. Like Josh Hart is gonna be looking for an extension next summer. You know, no, Jackson Hayes. These guys are gonna be on the team developing too. They're going to be looking to get some money. So they may look and say, okay, of the three, who's most expendable between Zion, Bi, and Lonzo? I literally just gave you the order. Zion, Bi, Lonzo. Zion, Bi, Lonzo. They're going to sacrifice Lonzo. So, this is just me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if within the next month we're hearing Lonzo being traded somewhere. So, all I can say is get ready just in case. But look on the bright side. If he goes someplace, it's likely going to make him the man, and he's going to get a chance to show off all that hard work he put in, and then he's going to make teams regret it. Lakers fans are already talking about, we want Lonzo, come back, Lonzo. And then that's going to be the Pels fans be like, damn it, we should have kept him if this happens. So just be on the lookout. That shit might happen. But it is what it is. So this is all I want to say. Y'all be safe. Keep cool out there. And have a good one.